Hello everybody and welcome along to the Betfair Cheltenham Preview, and I'm sure we're all getting excited. We've had a very busy day across the country. We've been trying to keep an eye out on what's been happening, but it's almost impossible. But we've had a brilliant afternoon's racing here. Hopefully you've all found a few winners along the way as well. Pretty tough day out there. The rain and the storms have been quite painful, so it's nice that we actually had racing on today. We're going to spin through the championship races at the festival, which we're all looking forward to, and I'm delighted to be in the company of champion trainer Paul Nicholls, who is of course the Betfair ambassador, and then running us through all the prices and making sure we're up to date with what's happened in the markets this afternoon and of course in the build-up to the festival itself. I'm delighted to welcome along a last-minute replacement, Daryl Carter, who is the Betfair bookmaker today, and we'll be making sure we keep up to date with exchange prices and of course the sportsbook as well, which are two of the options, and in running information of what's happened. So if you are sitting at home enjoying the racing, you can obviously have a bet in running. So looking forward to making sure we update you with some of the past things that have taken place there. And then a familiar face to me, some of you might know Declan Ricks, who's alongside me, and he is very hot on a keyboard when it comes to updating the At The Races blog as well, and sometimes on Sky Sports Racing he's in Vision as well. But he is very good at keeping his finger on the pulse on this side of the Irish Sea, and of course back from where he comes over in Ireland. So welcome to my team. We're going to start by talking about the champion hurdle and what a champion hurdle it's building up to be. I'll start with you, Daryl. At the moment, is it really strong support for Honeysuckle?
Yeah, there's a lot of support for Honeysuckle. She's taken 60% of the market traded on the Betfair exchange at the moment. The Betfair SP, the Betfair starting price was actually greater than the industry starting price on all 36 runners in the last 3 years in the champion hurdle. So something to bear in mind if you're going to have a bet on the day. There is plenty of liquidity in the exchange market at the moment, so we are going to lead with the Betfair exchange prices. But just a reminder for those sportsbook backers, we are non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham Festival on Betfair. But Honeysuckle's heading the market, pretty strong favourite, 1.65, Appreciate It 6.8. Tihipu, after his win today over at Gorham Park, is now 10s, Epiton 18s, Adagio 24, Zanahir 32, Quilixios 40, Tommy's Oscars 40, Sam Ra 70, 100 for Paul Nicholls' Monwin Rao, who's very interesting at such a big price. The Betfair hurdle winner, Glory and Fortune, is out there at 100. Not So Sleepy, 120. It's 250 and 100 for My Mate Mozzie and Tritonic.
Okay, that's interesting. Epiton, she sounds like she's a very big price. What's happened to her today?
I think it's just a market reaction to the win of Tihipu over in Ireland. She's been fairly weak. She's out to 18s. She was around 10s just as early as yesterday. So she's had a little bit of a drift in the market, but these markets are just reacting to anyone that's running well in terms of each way plays, I think, at the moment. So, but Honeysuckle's very strong at the top of the market.
Yeah, she's been impressive throughout her career and most recently as well. But Epiton, former winner of the race, and ran well, of course, behind her previously. So I'm going to come to our champion trainer, Paul Nicholls. Monmorale, Paul, he's a horse that I think a lot of, obviously, things didn't go well for him on his return. How is he?
No, that didn't go to plan. He got struck into actually early on, actually finished lame. And he ended up the next 2 weeks at the vets. So he's okay now, but we're playing catch up a little bit. That's why I didn't run him today. Plan is to go to Fontwell next week for the National Spirit, which is 2.5. And then the idea was to go on to Aintree after that. Now, if he went next week, was very, very impressive, and some of these dropped out and the ground was soft. We are still in there and we could look at it. But I suspect he'll run at Fontwell and go to Aintree. Okay,
well, it's good to get the update on him. Is there anything in the race that you think is absolutely odds on to come home in front?
Well, I think Honeysuckle, she keeps winning. She's a winning machine. On all different tracks, she's done very well at Cheltenham. Obviously, she's the one they've all got to beat, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, Declan, what's your take on the race? And obviously, we've just heard a very short favourite. Is there any each way winnings we can get?
Well, I was all set to come up here and maybe give Epiton a very positive mention, but 19.5 on the exchange. To me, that would suggest she's potentially a non-runner, because there's no way in hell she should be that price. So maybe there's news breaking as we speak, or something's about to break. But I wouldn't say Epatant's back to her best at the moment. But visually, she looks in much better form this year. She was third in the champion hurdle last year when Nicky Henderson's horses weren't thriving. She also had a back issue. I know the form of the Christmas hurdle at the time didn't look strong because she beat handicappers, but the runner-up has come out and won the Betfair hurdle since. And I just think even she won that day, but the race went completely wrong for her. She was put in the race far too soon, just because Nico probably didn't want to disappoint her. She was travelling so well. She's jumping back slickly again. I think on faster ground, getting plenty of cover, I think I could easily see her chasing home Honeysuckle. Maybe back her each way or back her without Honeysuckle on the day is how I'd be playing it. But like I said, that price to me suggests she could be a non-runner. Tia Heepo was good today, but I don't think he was that good.
No, that's quite interesting. Any thoughts on that, Daryl?
We do have a without Honeysuckle market. She is 4.6 without Honeysuckle at the moment. Personally, my opinion is that Epatant's time has been and gone. I'm not really keen on the old back excuse and this, that and the other. I think she was around at a time when the champion hurdle was really lacking some depth. I mean, it lacks depth now, in all honesty, outside of Honeysuckle, but I couldn't have her winning this. I think the only horse to take her on with, actually, is Appreciate It. You can get non-runner no bet, obviously, on the sports book. I think that'll probably be the way to go at around 7-2. This horse doesn't have too much to find with Honeysuckle on there. Well, there was a very good comparison of them last year. Appreciate It ran in the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Honeysuckle ran in the Champion Hurdle. It was a very comparative race over course and distance. If you stop the race at 5 at the 5th hurdle, Appreciate It was actually 2 seconds or 8 lengths faster than Honeysuckle was in the early period. Now, that obviously levelled itself out from the 5th to the line, but Honeysuckle overall was only 2 seconds quicker than Appreciate It. So levelling that out, there's about 3/4 of a length between them just on the time figures there. Now, I know he's going to come here off the back of a long layoff, but I like the fact that they've decided that they've missed their engagements rather than having to miss the engagement because of some sort of issue. So they could have given a run. They decided to come here fresh, and there's no better man to get a horse at the Cheltenham Festival, no disrespectful, to fresh than Willie Mullins. So I think he's got a big chance. I think he'll be a market shortener on the day.
Yeah, he is a superb trainer when it comes to targeting races, isn't he, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, he won't need the run. I mean, he'll be ready for his life. They'll have had a good preparation. And yeah, you know, obviously he's unbeaten. He's a very smart horse, very interesting contest. Yeah, he'll go well.
Yeah. Anything else on the opening day from any of you guys that you're looking forward to seeing? And Paul, anything that elsewhere on the card that you might be running?
I don't think there were too many runs that day. Horse called Bellex won in the juvenile handicap hurdle. He's new to us. He's won a couple of hurdle races in Ireland in the autumn. I don't know what price he is, but he goes nicely at home, but that might just be our only runner on that day.
Okay, so a quiet start to the week for Trainer Paul. There isn't any markets up ready for that, is there, Daryl?
Not at the moment, no. I think Paul should run Monmouth Rail, though. I do think he should run Monmouth Rail. I think that'll be a fascinating runner.
Let's see how he goes next Sunday. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It just all that hinges on next weekend's run.
Okay,
Darryl, anything else that you like on the opening day elsewhere on the card?
Constitution Hill would be the good start to the festival, if you like.
Yeah.
I think he's unbelievable, but he's got to prove it around Cheltenham. But no, it's a quiet start for me, other than Constitution Hill and Appreciate. I'm quite strong on Appreciate. I do fancy him.
Yeah, absolutely. He was always going to be the threat, wasn't he, to the wonderful queen of the jump scene, Honeysuckle, if he did go over hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not entirely convinced Honeysuckle was at her best at the Dublin Racing Festival, in all honesty. When you compare it to the handicap on the card, Sir Gerhard did better figures than her that day. I thought it was a bit laboured from the back of the last to the line. Head was a bit high. I don't know. I'd like to take her on. I mean, I'm always happy to take on a favourite, so we'll see how it goes.
Can you see kind of the Constitution Hill Honeysuckles going into one of those first days when there's going to be lots of short prices and people putting a few bets together?
Not really. Normally the bookies like to take on the favourites on the first day. They're happy to be beat on the first day, and then they'll shorten up elsewhere. But I think Constitution Hill is going to drift in the market. I think there'll be support for a lot of Willie Mullins runners, the Supreme. being a race that he's favoured over the years. But I can't see Honeysuckle drifting too much, in all honesty.
Okay, cool. And Declan, is there anything on the first day elsewhere that you're looking forward to seeing lining up?
I'm looking forward to seeing Statler in the National Hunt Chase. I think he's good enough to run in the RSA myself. Or sorry, not the RSA, we've got to call it the Brown Advisory now. I think the pace of that race will really suit him. There's probably a little bit of pressure on jockeys now, especially amateurs riding in that race, not to go too quick after the scenes we had there a couple of years ago. I think a real sit and sprint kind of race like that would really suit him because he's got a touch of class. And the other one, I think, to the head of the market again, unfortunately, but Riviere de Tel, I think, is not being given enough respect in the Arkle. For my money, if she jumped the last at Leopardstown, she would have comfortably held Blue Lord, who Paul Townend said was idling. I thought he looked out on his feet, to be honest. Which, it was that kind of race on soft ground. I think if she goes out in front, she'll take plenty catching. She's had a bit of racing already this year, but Gordon Ellie keeps saying she's thriving. Gets the £7 mare's allowance, and to be honest, I think if she ran in the mare's chase later in the week, I'd actually have her favoured over Constantisa. I really, really rate this filly for a novice. So, those are probably two I'd look at.
Okay, well, she's one we'll have on our radar. I'm a massive fan of Edwardstone. I don't know what you think about that race.
It's a race that stung me already a couple of times, to be honest with you. I was on Fernie Hallow at a bigger price. I can see Declan's angle here, 6.8 Riviere de Tel, perhaps taking the sportsbook route on that particular runner, non-runner money back, of course, just in case she does end up going down to the Mayor's Chase. You're covered there with Betfair. No real strong opinion at this stage. I'm a bit of a stickler for age at the Cheltenham Festival, and Edwardstone being an 8-year-old is just playing on me a little bit too much for my liking at the moment, so I'm going to hold fire.
Okay, that's interesting. Right, we'll move on to Wednesday, and it's the Queen Mother Champion Chase that we're going to focus on. What at the moment is sitting at the top of the betting here? Is that probably an obvious question to ask you, Daryl? Yeah,
Shishkin and Energumene, of course, at the top of the betting, going to renew their epic clash at Ascot. Shishkin actually traded at a high of 7.9 on the Betfair Exchange at that day at Ascot. Energumene, fans, hold your head in your hands, a low of 1.13. I think that's quite telling, because I do think that Shishkin will be a better bet in running. As opposed to Energumene, I think will shorten because he's likely to go off the front end. But the market as it stands at the moment is Shishkin 2.02, Energumene 4.6, Chacun pour Soi 9, Dubé Negra 15.5, Fernando Civola 20, Envoy Alvin 25, Hitman 42 for Paul. Put the kettle on 50, and it's bigger the rest.
Okay, Paul, you are well entered up in this year's Champion Chase. What are your thoughts on the race and your runners?
Well, my thoughts on the race are that Shishkin will be very hard to beat. I think he'll be better going left-handed. He keeps on winning. Whatever he does, he looks beat and keeps galloping and gallops all the way to the line. He really is the one to beat. What I run is Grenadine. He ran last year, was only beaten 2 lengths in the race, ran very well. He will appreciate if the ground dries up a bit. He's a good solid horse, always runs well, but he's got a bit to find. Obviously, Shishkin beat him at Kempton over Christmas, and Politolog's going to run. He won the race 2 years ago. We've kept him fresh for the race, but look, he's not getting any younger. There's a lot of younger legs in the race now, and it'd have to be a career best for him to win now, but he'll run a good solid race, and looking forward to running those two. But I think all of us have got Shishkin to beat. Yeah,
Shishkin is a horse that was brilliant here when he got the better of Energumene. Can you see that form flipping round, Declan?
I don't know. On one hand I can, and on another I can't. I think going left-handed is going to suit Shishkin more. But then if it gets quicker ground as well, Shishkin's got pace, but he looks like a proper stayer to me. I don't know, I just think Shishkin and Energumene, they're in a different stratosphere to all these horses, to be honest, and I include Chacun pour Soi in that. Chacun pour Soi had his chance last year, he's going to be 10 this year. Going through the race last night, looks like there's an awful lot of pace on in the race, so there could be a bit of a pace collapse here. I think if the ground is getting towards the kind of better side of good, I'd maybe look at playing Nubra Negra without Shishkin in the hope that Energumene maybe jumps right and is kind of outpaced on that quicker ground. Energumene's a seriously talented horse. I'm just not sure the sharp nature of Cheltenham will suit him. And, you know, he looks at a really high cruiser who is a galloper. He doesn't quicken. So I could see maybe Nubra Negra picking up the pieces a little bit late and finishing in the frame. He was very unlucky in the race last year. And so was Grenadine as well. It wasn't a champion chase run at a strong gallop. All those horses that were on the pace were in tactically better positions. So, yeah, I think Shishkin probably going to win it. But if you wanted something, you know, we're coming here putting up horses at 5-4 for people, you know. It's not really great. So if you were looking for one of the bigger price, I'd maybe look at Nubra Negra without Shishkin each way, and obviously the better the ground, the better his chance.
We all like cheering home a winner, though, so winners are winners at the end of the day, and if there's strong support when they're short, that's allowed as well, isn't it? Anything else?
Nubra Negra 3.0 in the without market on the exchange, without Shishkin and Energumene. We do have both of those markets, the without markets on the Betfair Sportsbook, non-runner money back, and on the exchange. I think Shishkin is a fantastic, fine specimen of a beast. Something concerns me about this champion chase, just in the fact that the sheer numbers that we could end up having in this race. Like Declan said, he can get caught out of his ground a little bit. He did trade high and running here at Ascot last time. If there is a pace collapse and horses are falling back into his lap, because I don't think he's got the early speed to give himself a prominent position in the race, and there's going to be a lot of horses that want to be ridden towards the 4. 8 of his last 11 runs have come in field sizes of 5 or less. And all of his runs over fences, all 7 of his runs have come with an average runner field of 4. So it is sort of a different test you're asking of Shishkin a little bit here. And tactically, how is this going to play out in terms of is Shishkin going to get caught too far out of his ground? He's going to be coming home strongly, that's for sure. But I'd like to wait and see the final field and makeup of this race, because I think there could be a couple of angles in here.
Okay, well, that's quite interesting. What about the rest of the races on that second day? Have you seen anything moving the markets throughout the afternoon today?
It's been a little bit quiet today. Nothing really moving in the market. I think a lot of these markets, especially on this day, the Ballymore and the Brown Advisory, I think we're waiting to see where horses go. The likes of Sir Gerhard's in at favourite at 3.6 for the Ballymore at the moment. And then you've got Galopin de Champs in the, of course, in the Turners and in the Brown Advisory. So these markets are just sort of bubbling under a little bit at the minute, and we're just sort of waiting to see which way things are going to go. As soon as there's a whisper about Galopin de Champs definitely going to the Turners, the markets are going to react crazy. So yeah, keep an eye on them.
Trying to second guess Willie Mullins, that's always half the battle, isn't it, in these races? Anything else on this second day you're looking forward to on Wednesday?
No, because as Darryl said, it's very hard, because in the Ballymore we could have a number of switches, maybe from the Supreme, and you know, Constitution Hill probably won't, but he could. Sir Gerhard, it's not confirmed where he runs yet. You know, he killed Crut as well. So it's hard to get a proper form in those races. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky that day.
Absolutely. Paul, will you have much going to post on Wednesday?
Yeah, hopefully it's our best day. In the Ballymore, run a lovely horse owned by the owners group called Stage Star. He's won 3 from 3 this year. He won the Grade 1 Shallow Hurdle at Newbury over Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't run him last week because the ground was so heavy at Exeter, and I don't think you really want to be giving horses a hard race on heavy ground so close to Cheltenham. And yeah, he's a lovely young horse.
Has he surprised you at how much he keeps progressing?
Yeah, he has really. The last, you know, we obviously thought he was quite smart. His first 2 wins were good, but the last day at Newbury in the Grade 1, he was very impressive, and Harry loves him. He's very much in the mould of Braidman's Game, who won the Challenge as well last year, going into the race. Yeah, he'll be a superstar chaser next year, but at the moment he's a big baby. But with plenty of ability, he's definitely got a chance, and it'll depend on what some of these others do, whether they run in the Supreme or not. But yeah, we think we got a nice each-way chance. He's a lovely horse.
Were you surprised how well he handled the soft ground at Newbury? Because that was the little bit of a worry for me, because he looks like a really fluent moving horse. Like the better the ground, the kind of that class and pace that he has, it's brought out.
Yeah, possibly. He ran very well in a bumper here behind Nappers Hill on soft. I think the day when at Newbury was on the slower side, but that ground was soft the last day. He's got plenty of ability, and good. You know, those decent horses should go on most ground, so I don't think the ground would be an issue for him.
You got any price for that each way tick
Yeah,
from
stage star 11.0 in the market, leading the British Charge, of course. People have just not latched on to him for whatever reason, because I thought he was very impressive in the Challow. He's a horse that is going to be better suited by a very strong pace, I think. He's got stacks of stamina. He's a lovely moving horse. He jumps well, leading the British Charge. But I think a lot of people have got in the back of their mind the dominance of the Irish last year, and that's why they're filling the top of the market, because he's, as Paul said, he's highly likely to go this route. He's an each way price, 11.0 on the exchange. He's slightly short on the sportsbook, but he does look rock solid for a market that's so up in the air at the moment.
Okay.
Sorry, just in that race in the Ballymore, I'd be happy to take on Journey with Me, who's second favourite. He just looks too raw, quite an inexperienced horse. You know, his future's ahead of him. I think he's going to be a lovely chaser. You know, he's probably going to take up a bit of the market at the front end. He's second favourite, but I'll have egg on my face now when he goes and bolts up. But I just think he's too raw for that test and the whole Cheltenham experience as well. And we should remember a lot of these horses who won and competed at Cheltenham last year, especially the young horses, they're going to face a crowd this year, which is, you know, it's a totally different proposition, especially if you're not mentally ready. So he kind of strikes me maybe as that kind of type.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. And Paul, the Brown Advisory Novices Chase, is this where we're going to be seeing Braveman's Game line up?
Yeah, that's the plan with Braveman's Game. And we'll also run 300 through 5. You know, interesting, lively outsider. He's won all 4 starts over fences this year. The form's
taken a nice boost.
Yeah, boost again today. He keeps on winning. He's tough and he stays. He's probably not quite as sexy a horse as Braveman's Game, but Braveman's Game's again. He's won 4 from 4. Was very impressive, winning off a mark of 159 the other day. He's now rated 164, which is a quite, you know, if he can run to that sort of form, that puts him in with a massive chance. Obviously, Galloping Deschamps is the one who's been very impressive in Ireland. Keeps on winning, keeps on galloping. They obviously did an enormously good job last year getting him in the boys' race on the mark he was on and winning as he did, because he's taken, you know, lots of steps forward this year and he looks good. But I'd like to think we're a little bit more mature a horse this year than he was last year. We fancied him last year and he got put in his place, but he was always going to be a better chaser. The fact that he jumps so well and he travels, but yeah, he's obviously got a leading chance.
And did he take that last race quite well?
Yeah, he's you know, I hardly knew he'd had a race really. We hadn't done a lot with him beforehand, and he doesn't take too much work, and we'll just keep him nice and fresh. Don't need to do a lot with him, but he's come out of it very well.
Yeah, just say with that I think there's maybe a chance Paul's horse could outstay Willie's horse if Willie's horse goes here. Galloping Deschamps, he's a classy animal, but he's got so much pace and he's very, very exuberant. He got a little bit warm the last day at Leopardstown. You know, he's another one who's going to face a bigger crowd again. Just, you know, all that nervous energy and exuberance. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not walking home late, but I wouldn't be. Paul's horse, I think, is a stronger stayer. And in terms of class, I think in terms of ratings, I've only got about 2 or 3 pounds between them, you know. So it's interesting. And if you do fancy Paul's horse or any horse in that race, you should probably back him now, because a lot of the bookies are non-runner, no bet, because there must be still a chance that Galloping Deschamps goes to the Turner. So, you know, if he does that, market's just going to be in total chaos.
Hey. A lot of bookies.
Sorry,
Betfair are non-runner money back.
Barry Orr's going to have my head now.
He will do it. He'll have mine as well. Yeah. Paul, would you consider would you consider giving instruction of Braveman's Game to be ridden forwardly in this particular race and just be there to strike as opposed to trying to come from off the pace?
I think when you've got a horse that stays and jumps as well as him, there's no point in dropping him right in. He's always ridden forward. To get a lead would be ideal. But I'd say I'd leave that to Harry. You know, if subtract. You need to be fairly forward, I would say, and just if you use your jump in rather than getting behind and following horses that may make mistakes. So if we don't make the run in, I don't think he'll do that. He'll definitely get a lead, but it'll be fairly to the fore. Because
he's such an assured jumper, and in these novice divisions, you kind of want to be to the fore to put them under pressure and know that you're going to gain that ground at the fences.
Yeah, and exactly. You know, it's quite a sharp track, this one on the Wednesday. So you don't want to be too far behind, and he's dead straightforward. He's dead relaxed. So I just leave that to Harry, and he'll do what he thinks is appropriate.
Perfect.
Darryl, we know that Statler's also entered here, and that was a horse that Declan mentioned earlier on. What price is she each way, and also the 300 3.5 for Paul.
Statler for the Brown Advisories is 100 on the exchange. Highly likely to go to the National Hunt Chase though, and Brave Man's Game is that we said 4.2, 3 under through 5, 20.0. I actually thought 3 under through 5 might go to National Hunt Chase. Is that was? Yeah.
Well, yeah. You tell Max McNeil that.
Yeah,
For me, please.
that's what I thought.
Okay. Well, anything else on Wednesday before we move on? No? All good?
Oh, sorry. No, we're all good.
You're
Yeah,
all good? Okay, so we'll start with the Ryanair Chase. Again, this looks hugely competitive, but what are the markets saying here, especially after what we've seen here today?
Yeah, this has been one of the quieter markets on the Betfair exchange. Just 58,000 trading in this market at the moment. Allaho, the banker of the week for most, has taken a lot of that. 57%, 32,000 trading on Allaho in the Ryanair Chase. Matched at a high of 6.0 for £578 and a low of 2.16, which is his current price at the moment. Chamblou is a surprise entry for me here in the Ryanair. 10.5, Janadil 14, Conflated, who has been friendless really in the market, 16. Mr. Fisher 15.5, Fakir Dowdairies after his win today 16.5, Mellon 17.5 after his win today, St Calvados out to 18s and 20 to 1 bar.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the race? Who do you like?
I think Allaho's going to be very difficult to beat if he goes from the front and tries to make all, in all honesty. I do think there is some each way value in the race. I think Janadil, who was only 3 lengths off him in the John Durkin, I think he's got a fair each way chance. I think he's an improving horse, and he wasn't too far behind in the Albert Bartlett, behind those good horses, Monkfish, Time Hill. So I do think he's got a chance. I couldn't really have Chamblou. He's rated 148, Chamblou. If they was to go for the ultimate handicap, I would be, very excited to buy him off a mark of 148. Because to place in this Ryanair, he's going to have at least £10 in hand off his handicap mark. So, yeah, that doesn't really make too much sense to me. St Calvados, Paul, I thought was a horse that was best when fresh. Would you be leaving him for Aintree now, giving him that bit more time after today? Oh, and is he okay after pulling up today?
Well, first and foremost, I think today's form will probably not turn out to give you too many indications to the Ryanair, because it was attritional ground. I thought it was heavy today. A lot of these, as you said, aren't going to run in the race. St Calvados, I think, actually wants better ground and possibly a flat track. It turned out afterwards he actually bled during the race, which makes me wonder if that's why he's been a weak finisher in the past. Like, you look at him turning into the straight Kempton this year and last year in the King George, travelling, and then doesn't finish. And is it he doesn't finish because he hasn't got the stamina, or is it because he's obviously got an issue?
Yeah.
So we need to resolve that. I do think different day on better ground he'll be a different horse. So we haven't ruled that out. But I would say to run in this he would need, good 3 weeks now, month to get him right, and some decent ground. The other horse I might run in the race, I've just got to, is Hitman, who's actually rated 160, which would put him right in the mix on ratings. He's crying out for a trip. Just a bit outpaced at Newby last week, so it's either go here with him or wait for Aintree. But I actually think Allaho, if he runs like he did last year, nothing will beat him, and that was one of those performances last year you don't see very often. And if he repeats that, he'll be unbeatable.
Sounds like they're going to have a decent field going to post. What were your thoughts on the race?
Look, he's not a big price, but I think you should just back Allaho now. You can get 10 to 11. I reckon he could be 4 to 7 on the day. He's just way better than all these horses, simple as that. I was worried about him in the John Durkin. It looked like he had a very tough race, but Willie popped him out a few weeks later. Well, not a few weeks later, I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks, and he looked fresh as paint again at Thurles. I've always thought he's a better horse, going left-handed, gets better as the season goes on. Since the tongue tie has gone on, he's got even better. Having looked at the race again the other day, there's no pace in it. He could get a freebie up in front and do whatever Paul Townend wants, and I just think he's too good for them. I would back him now. I'm also interested. I have the opposite view of Darrell on Chamblou. When he fell at Weatherby that day, he was 22 lengths clear of a 150 rated horse and was giving him £3. So if he stayed at that distance at the line, it would have been a near on 170 performance. It would have been one of the performances of the season. Look, the worry is can Dan Skelton get him back mentally? How's he going to be after the fall? Physically, I think he had a bit of an issue with his neck as well. He was quite sore. But look, I'm a huge fan of Dan Skelton as a trainer. Paul probably trained him up a little bit too well. And I just think if the vibes are right about him, I can easily see him finishing second to Allaho. So he's another one I would explore in the without favourite market. I think he's maybe a little bit better on flatter tracks, but 9 times out of 10 he's a superb jumper as well. So it looks a bad Ryanair to me. So yeah, to the head of the market again. But if value betting is your thing, I think you're doing the right thing.
He did take that nasty fall, and they were worried about him, and they were actually thinking, we might get him back sooner than what we thought, but then they decided to give him a bit more time. So
yeah, exactly. Look, patience is key, I think, probably after a fall with that, and just with horses in general. I think what we saw at Wetherby that day up until the fall was of an exceptionally talented horse. So if he completed that day, he'd be at least half the price he is now, maybe more with Allaho. So yeah, look, to the head of the market again, but it's a little bit risky, but I do think he's got a lot of ability.
Okay, good stuff. On our third day on Thursday, is there anything else that you'll be sending out there, Paul?
No, it's a sort of quieter day. Some of the handicaps we haven't decided yet. They shut on Tuesday, so we'll have a look around there, see what we can put in. I think the race, which is an interesting race to possibly talk about, because I think it's a very open race, is a Stayers Hurdle on that.
Yeah, what do you think about Champ and where he's going to go?
He'll run in this. I don't think he's in the Gold Cup, is he, anymore? I don't know. I think they said he was going in this, and you'd have wanted him to have won the other day, probably, to be fancying him this race, and he did sort of, I don't know, he was very tired when he finished. But he's obviously a decent horse, and when he won at Ascot here, he was very impressive. But the Stairs is a hard race. It's a tough race. They've got to stay very strong. Very open race, this, and I think until Classical Dream ran ordinary the other day, he probably would have been favourite with the lads, and he would have been hard to beat. Paisley Park probably, he's good round there. The other day you saw him come from nowhere to win, and again he's going to be in the mix, but it's a really open competitive race.
Will you have anything in there? Will you run McFabulous?
No, nothing. No, McFabulous will run in the Coral Cup.
Yeah, okie doke.
Oh, that is interesting.
He doesn't get the trip. We proved the other day he doesn't get 3 miles, so we got to go back in trip, and I think it'll be Coral Cup and then Novice Chasing very soon.
Yeah, Flooring Porter's at the top of the market, almost by default, really, just because of the way that Champs performed. Paisley Park is a little bit friendless. Classical Dream obviously was beaten, so the two at the top of the market, Flooring Porter, 4.9. Time Hill, 5.6. He's been the one for a little bit of money. Classical Dream, 6.4. Champs, 7.6. Paisley Park, 9.8. Royal Kahala obviously has this option as well as the Mez, 16. Sporting John has the Potemps option, 22s. Asterion Fallon's 23. Song for Someone, 30. Melon, 36. And much, much bigger the rest.
Okay. What were your thoughts on that race? Do you have a strong angle in? Because it's certainly looking quite open at the moment.
I mean, I've been betting Champ with my heart rather than my head, in all honesty. So this is going to be a race for the heart. Just have a small bid on him. But I don't think he was at his best at Cheltenham the other day. But then again, I don't think he's been at his best any time he's ran at Cheltenham, in all honesty. I know it's silly to say about an RSA winner.
He was good here, wasn't he?
Yes, he was very good here. But I don't know if it's something about Cheltenham that he doesn't really like, because he must have been well below the performance that he put up here to give Paisley Park that sort of distance and then been beaten coming up the hill for stamina. So there might have been something wrong there. They'll freshen him up, I suggest, and he could be a different horse come the day. But I think Time Hill was very solid from an each way perspective. He's going to get a strong pace run to suit him here, and he's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing but improve, so he does need to improve again. But Time Hill, I think, about 5.6 at the moment, the one for money, and probably the solid option.
Darryl, before I get Declan's take on this race, can you try and just have a look for the Coral Cup price there? We'll come back to you to find out what we could have for McFabulous.
I think the handicap entries are out next Tuesday, I think.
Yeah,
so
we haven't entered yet. So
we'll get in early when they're out
But
Yeah,
he'll have plenty of weight because he's rated 150, so
He'll be favourite.
he's not a given. He's not a givey off that mark. 150 is a tough mark, so he's in there. That's always a hard race to win.
I think in the Coral, the horses at the top of the handicap have good records, even though they carry a lot of weight. Horses to the top of the class horses come to the fore. So he's interesting definitely, especially if he comes up good ground, because he's a good moving horse, got lots of class. I actually backed him the last day at Cheltenham, so Paul can buy me a drink later.
Yeah, the bar's not too far away. That could happen. How would you price him up for the race?
I'd have him as favourite, that's
Yeah.
for sure, definitely.
Cool.
8-1, something like that.
That's all right.
Ahead of the market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of impossible to have a view on that. We don't know the entries, but
You're not very generous.
I wouldn't be for one of yours.
No, I was thinking it'd be a 20-1 shot.
No chance. You've got no chance.
Well, we'll see.
You know he's
I
well
like that. You
handicapped.
put him in at 8s and he thinks you should be 20s. I like that. That's good. What about your Stayers Hurdle selection?
look, I think this is a crazy competitive race. Flooring Porter, horse with a lot of ability, but he hangs very badly. Time Hill, good solid horse, but he's no superstar. Classical Dream, very hard to train, clearly best fresh, but I'd say he's a hard horse to keep right and get spot on for the day. Champ is going to be 10, Paisley Park is going to be 10. I wouldn't be too downhearted on Champ the last day. He won a grade 1 here at Ascot, the long walk in his previous start. I think any trainer worth their salt is going to back off a horse and get him ready for Cheltenham. You're not going to go all guns blazing for a grade 2. I have a funny feeling Nicky backed off him a good bit because he looked quite tubby to me as well. So I'd expect a much better horse come March. Also, the better the ground, I think the better his chance. And when he's in song, Champ, he's got a tremendous attitude. That's something maybe you couldn't say about Flooring Porter, although he can be good, but he just hangs. So Royal Kahala just not good enough to be in here. So basically, I think what it boils down to the day is whoever turns up on the day, the ground suits, tactically the race falls. I think it's going to be that way. But if I had to name my colours to the mast for one, it would be Champ.
Okay, bit of a mixed opinion on that one, which is always good. We'll move on to Friday and have a chat about the Gold Cup, because this is I think it's fair to say, a bit of a minefield at the moment. What are the market vibes? Where are you?
It's actually been the most popular anti-post market so far, with a total of 295,000 traded on the Betfair exchange on the Gold Cup. A significant proportion of that, 77,000 on a Plutard, matched at 4.7 for 12,000. That's double that of Galvin, that was my fancy in the race. Despite an easy win in the Irish Gold Cup, Conflated is just not seeing the support that you would think he would see. Last matched at 22, he's currently around 18.5. But a Plutard is leading the market, 4.6, Galvin 6, Manila Indos 7.6, Protectorat 10s, Album Photo 12.5, Tornado Fire 16, Conflated 19.5, Royal Pagai 23, he's been tipped up by a few good judges. Chantry House 24, Asterian Florence 38, Santini 50, Fiddler on the Roof 40, and it's bigger the rest.
Okay, Paul, what were your thoughts on the race?
It's a very open race, actually. There's a lot of horses got chance in this. I've always thought Galvin was a horse that might win the Gold Cup. I thought that all season he ran well when he won there last year. He's obviously a very good horse. He ran very well behind Frodon in Down Royal first time up, and then he won the next day. If I was going to back anything, that I'm not, but I would really fancy him. Protectocrat of Dan Skelton's, he's probably the best of the British horses. I'm not sure about the form of the race at Aintree when he won. He was very impressive in very, very heavy ground. Whether that's quite good enough to win a Gold Cup or not, I don't know. But I know Dan fancies him very strongly, and it wouldn't be no surprise to me if it helped.
Again, look, it's a very open race. I was a little bit disappointed that a Plutard couldn't get the job done at Christmas, to be honest. I know he was maybe a little bit out of his ground and covered more ground out wide in a tactical run race, but you know, he got to the front with Galvin having been hampered off the bend as well, and he still couldn't beat him. Galvin I like as a horse. He's progressing all the time. My worry with him is we've never seen him in a proper strong run race. You know, a lot of those Irish races are sit and sprint. You know, it doesn't put pressure on jumping and travelling. I just wonder how his jumping could hold up in a proper Gold Cup. But in saying that, there doesn't look to be a lot of pace in this year's Gold Cup. You know, Frodon's not going to run. Native River is retired. It could be a completely different race to what we saw last year. with the year Alboom Photo won his second Gold Cup, it could be that kind of gently rising pace, which probably means the lesser horses have a chance, I think. But look, I think at the price, I don't understand the price with Tornado Flyer. He's won a King George, trained by...
You don't think that was a fluke?
No, not a fluke. I don't think Clandazobo was at his best, but he beat him a long way. And you know, if you go back and watch the race against Allaho last year in the Ryanair, they went a mental gallop that day, and I know he raced a long way off the pace, but he was never out of his comfort zone, which is a sign of a classy horse. He's proven now that he can stay 3 miles on soft ground. You know, I think he's by Flemensforth out of an Exceeding Excel mare, who's a half sister to Hurricane Fly. Yeah. So he's got the pedigree as well. Just price related, I don't get it. So yeah, I think he's a decent each way bet at a big price. Yeah.
Okay. That's certainly one to keep on side then. Declan's given him a good shout, Darryl.
I think 3 miles around Kempton, though, is completely different to a Gold Cup trip around Cheltenham.
No, it is, but it was proper soft ground at Kempton, and they went a furious gallop.
It'd have to be a swimming pool to prove his stamina for Cheltenham, I think. I do think Galvin's the right horse. He should be at the top of the market, as far as I'm concerned. I think people have all agreed that Galvin is this good horse that is improving still. You know, it's done absolutely nothing wrong, but then we always bring ourselves back and decide not to back this horse for some reason. He'll then go and win a Gold Cup, and all of a sudden we'll go, oh, that was obvious.
Yeah.
You know, he's that type of horse. Look, I think he's proven he's got tactical speed. He's got the stamina for the trip. He loves the course. He's beaten the market leader. I mean, I don't know what more you want him to do, really, to be favourite for a Gold Cup. So, yeah, I think he's rock solid. I wouldn't give up on Manila Indo either. A lot of people wrote him off for the 2 starts this season, but I think he has excuses. He always needs his first run of the season, and then Kempton with the cheek pieces was all wrong for him. And he bounced back to a good bit of form last time, back in the spring, back at Cheltenham. He's got a fair chance of retaining his title. So those are the 2 I'd be looking at the minute. But if it is tactically run, as Declan said, then you can't be blamed for looking further down the list for a good bit of value at a big price. So, but yeah, Galvin 6.0 currently.
Okay, anything else on the Friday? And Declan, what are your best bets of the festival?
Friday, look, we haven't got the handicap entries yet, but I'm interested in Gordon Elliott's horse in the Martin Pipe called Au Fleuron. Again, don't know what mark he's going to get, but I just think he's been campaigned with this race in mind. He's a very straightforward horse, races off a loose rein, give him a squeeze and he goes forward, jumps well, nice moving horse as well. I think getting back on some proper spring British ground in March will suit him. He's an interesting horse in the Martin Pipe. And the other horse I forgot to mention is another Elliott horse in the Fred Winter, Ebisari. He won at Cork, beating a nice horse of Willie Mullins's, who was bolted up since, who's in the Supreme. They knew that day he was going to get a mark good enough to get him into the Fred Winter. He was a very big drifter in the betting on his second start, and then Davy Russell couldn't have gone any wider on him the last day. So make of that what you will. He was a bit weak in the market that day as well. I think they knew on the first day they had the mark was going to be good enough to get into the Fred Winter, and then the last 2 days have just been about maintenance, shall we say.
Okay, that's interesting. Will you have anything else on the Friday, Paul? Obviously, you've done one in that Mountain Pipe as well.
Yeah, we'll have some entries in the handicaps. Just a horse called Napa's Hill, who ran very well last week at Newbury, was 6, staying on strongly, got pushed wide and got behind. He could be a good one for the Martin Pipe over 2.5. He's crying out for 2.5, so he'll probably have an entry in for that. And you know, probably my best chance on that day is probably a horse he just got beat at Haydock called Bob and Co. David Maxwell's horse, who won the Punchestown. He actually needs decent ground. We ran him today on heavy ground. He will improve tons for today's run. He's that sort of horse, and nice ground. He was travelling well last year when he unseated Sean Bowen coming down the hill. He definitely will go very well, improve a lot for today.
Yeah. Anything else on the Friday elsewhere that you're looking forward to running, or will you be quite quiet?
I've got quite a nice 2 juveniles that are in actually
in the
Triumph, Pleasant Man and Rebode, both flat winners. Both go to Kempton on Saturday for the Adonis, which is juveniles. And look, if we got lucky, as we did a few years ago with Zarkandu, won that race and then went on to win this, one of those 2 might run. But like both of them, Pleasant Man's a Galileo. He's a real strong stayer, and he could be interesting. But they've got to go and win on Saturday to consider running in this race.
Is that the horse who was trained by Roger Charlton?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And he actually beat a horse of Gordon's who won last week on the flat. But, you know, they need to win to run in this. If you don't win, and you really want to be keeping them a novice for next season. So, yeah, interesting day's racing, but going back to the Gold Cup, my bet on that day, what I think will win is Galvin in the Gold Cup.
You're a Galvin fan as well, so that's quite good. Strong support from him. What about your thoughts elsewhere on the Friday?
I'm a big fan of Vauban in the Triumph Hurdle. I think he was remarkable in the Spring Juvenile over at Leopardstown. I think he's going to take a good bit of beating there with improvement to come. But just to remind customers that you can read all of Paul's thoughts on betting.betfair for the Cheltenham Festival. His column will be there every single day, so you get the lowdown on his runners before anybody else. Yeah, that's probably it from me on the Friday, to be honest.
Okay. What about your thoughts briefly on the triumph?
Sorry, just one in the Triumph there. Willie Mullins' Il Était Temps. He ran first time out for Willie in a Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival and shaped incredibly well. He was sat last off a slow pace, real tactical gallop, swung 5 or 6 wide into the straight, still looked very green, came home well, has a very good attitude and is a fluent mover. Vauban beat him stiff, don't get me wrong. But, you know, who knows? It was his first ever run. He doesn't have that much to find with him. I just think he's about 14 or 16 to 1 non-runner, no bet. That's a very, very big price for me.
So you both like a Willie Mullins trained runner for the Triumph?
Yeah, I do agree actually with Declan. I thought it was a remarkable performance, first time up in a Grade 1 for a horse of with no experience. So yeah, he's definitely going to come on for that.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Any offers that you just want to make clear for the Betfair customers?
Yeah, just a quick reminder really that Racing Only Better is going to be on daily at the Cheltenham Festival. Check out the lads' opinion every single day. The Cheltenham Rawcast is a weekly podcast leading up to the festival, looking at all the races. You can find that on betting.betfair. And just to say that we are launching a Grow Your Raw for Cheltenham with a £30 free bet pot. So bet £20 on horse racing in a week on the sportsbook or on the exchange to add £10 to your Cheltenham free bet pot. Terms and conditions apply, but go onto the website and check that out.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Has anyone got any questions or any races or anything that they'd just like to throw at the panel for thoughts? You're all well informed. That's good. Got off lightly. Always a joy. So. Mercurial.
Willie's bumper horse. I don't think he's gonna go. I think Willie said he's too raw. Is that how you won at Gorham Park the last day? Yeah, I think he might not run. But if you fancy him, I think there's non-runner no bet with Betfair, of course. So.
Good man, he's learned.
Well done, you've learned quickly.
Barry Orr is a difficult man to deal with.
Yeah, we like dealing with Terrell. No offence, Baz. No, Janie joking. Well, oh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The figures would suggest so, and I'm not entirely. I wasn't overly pleased with that honeysuckle performance last time at Dublin Racing Festival either. That she's got to get beat sooner or later. If there's a horse in the field to do it, it's either Appreciate It or it's this man's Mon Morale. So let's. We'll see.
Yeah, you can't wait to see Mon Morale.
I'd be worried about Appreciate It, to be honest.
Get out of here.
Well, look, first time up in a champion hurdle, he's a big, strong, gross horse who looks like he'd improve with racing. You know, going first time out to a champion hurdle is nuts. If he was in such good a nick, why didn't they enter him in the Red Mills and just have a look today at Gorham Park? Ruby is kind of saying he's in great form. Paul Townend is saying he's in great form, so he's probably going to be a non-runner, not make it.
Well, we are non-runner money back in a champion hurdle, but that's nonsense.
Yeah.
What's your nap at the festival? My nap at the festival, Galvin in the Gold Cup. That's what I fancy.
Excellent. Well, yeah, guy at the back.
Pictori.
Yes.
Pictori doesn't go to Cheltenham. He wants a flat track. He's going to go to Kempton on Saturday for the Pendle Novices Chase and then go on to Aintree. He's probably got a bit too much boot for 3 miles, but he probably does want a flat track and good ground.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, thank you all for listening, and a round of applause for Darryl, Declan and Paul Nichols. Good luck to Paul as well with all his runners at the festival. Thank you.